Hey, this is Tony Boss Bolin coming to you from the Lincoln Addict Podcast.
Hey, it's ODB, the Lincoln Addict, back with another podcast episode. And what I'm going to do, although this is going to be the typical video recap that I do, I am going to publish this one as an episode. That way, anyone that's on the audio side only, such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, they'll also be able to consume this very easily. What I would ask, though, if you are consuming this through the audio side, please stream it and check it out on the YouTube side, because you're going to get a far greater experience because I'm sharing visuals with everyone. So welcome back to the channel. If you're new, please consider subscribing. On this episode of Lincoln Addict Podcast, I'm going to recap all of the action from Barrett-Jackson 2026 out in Scottsdale, Arizona. One of my best friends was boots on the ground out there, so I got a little bit of intel. Of course, there's a lot of people that travel out to that area, so I'm super excited to jump right in. I do want to give a huge shout out to our title sponsors, Devious Customs. If you need custom parts for your Lincoln, maybe your mind is going a little crazy thinking of all of the sales, and maybe you want to go ahead and put the pedal to the metal with your build and get it finished to bring it to an auction in 2027, certainly look no further than Devious Customs. DeviousCustoms.com. You can buy the parts there or contact Jeff and team. Also want to give a huge shout out to Colorado Custom Wheels. Great folks. I have a set of Colorado Custom Lincoln replica wheels on my 64 that I absolutely love. Look no further than ColoradoCustom.com for your custom wheels. Oh, by the way, they also make steering wheels for our favorite cars, the 60s Lincolns. So with that being said, let's jump right in. Okay, what I want to do is with this recap, I'm going to basically start with just kind of an overview. This on the screen is what the sales were for the 16 vehicles. If you stick with me to the end, I will recap the total and we'll also compare it for the cumulative total based upon the previous few years. And we'll also look at the average price, which is really the key thing. Because if you think about if 10 cars go and they sell for X amount, and then the next year 16 cars go and they sell for X amount, you really want to look at the average per sale. And what I can tell you is it's certainly up and it has continued to rise, as we like to say. And John Cashman, shout out to Mr. Cashman, our friend John. He always loves the Lincoln's on the rise. Well, certainly he chimed in on one of our posts the other day and he said, hey, the prices are on the rise. And certainly they have been. So I want to touch upon all that and we'll get to it. But what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to go off of my sheet here so we can bounce right into each of these. I'm not going to do a huge recap of every single car simply because there's 16. I'll probably go and do separate videos on a few of the top cars and talk about them. But with this one, we had a 64 Lincoln Continental convertible. And the way I did these prices was when I went to Barrett-Jackson's website and I filtered to this event and I typed in Lincoln Continental, I basically did them in the order that they appear here. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see me scroll through as these 60 Lincolns appear all the way down to the 65 that you'll see at the very end. That's the order that I'm going in. I'm not going in the sale price order. I'm not going in the lot number. It's just how it kind of spit it out there. So here's what we had with this one, $30,000. Now keep in mind also another caveat, all of the prices that I'm sharing are not the hammer price. Essentially you have, I think it's a 10% buyer fee that's automatically added to whatever the hammer price is. So just know that. But $330,000 for this 64 Lincoln Continental convertible custom car. We can see that it does have the MEL 430, a beautiful interior. And one of the key things I like about this car is if you look at the firewall, you're not going to see the air conditioning there. But we see that it has AC. Basically, what a lot of folks are doing these in this day and age is, and especially some of the builders out there, I'm not going to name drop all the builders because it's all listed out here if you want to find that. And also, I want to try to share as little as possible so I don't make mistakes. But basically, for a MEL 430, is that Mercury Edsel Lincoln engine, right, drivetrain, and although it has that, and you could argue, well, it's not really a resto mod. Listen, I consider a car a resto mod even without an upgraded drivetrain. Engine was rebuilt, super clean, beautiful interior, black on black, really awesome. This car, I think the other point that I wanted to point out is a lot of folks are upgrading the air conditionings, right, to a modern system. And that's kind of what was done in this car, essentially. And that's why when you look at the firewall, it looks so clean. But basically, this price in itself would have just been mind-blowing several years ago for a non-upgraded modern drivetrain. Would have been mind-blowing. We saw just a few years ago, LS swaps and the MEL 430 cars going for, $125,000, right? So a $330,000 car. I mean, to me, this was a very, very nice build. It's got the custom wheels on it. It's got the look that so many people want. That's why this one rang in at $330,000. Okay, next we got this 65. And this 65, very similar in terms of the look, right? The black, you're going to see that as a theme. This one went for $212,300. You've got a set of wheels that maybe aren't as timeless, but they're definitely going to appeal to certain folks. When you look at the engine bay on this one, totally different look and feel, right? That hood moves forward, and essentially you've just got an entire cover. Some people love this. Some people dig it. Folks like me, it's not really my thing. Again, not bagging on anyone in terms of the builders. It's just my preference. But I will say this had a look and feel that a lot of people were looking for. Black car, convertible, car audio in the trunk. You can see here with the custom car audio. Head unit kind of in a weird spot. It looks like. But, some of these things here, which is the crazy thing, like, $212,000 years ago, like I just said with the last one, would have been mind blowing. But you're starting to get to like six figures is no deal, or no big deal, if you will, on these particular cars, which is just insane. But this one went for $212,000. Again, this is kind of a high-level recap. 67 Lincoln Continental convertible. This custom car went for a staggering $506,000. So let's go back and let's double-check I'm saying that right? $5,000. My opinion on this car is it's very, very nice custom with a C. This car, in my opinion, I look at it and say, wow, I don't really, in years past, I don't think it would have got anywhere near this. There are some people out there looking for something totally different, okay? Not in this video, or in this video, I'm not going to necessarily go down the why I think some of these cars sold for so much. There's all kinds of commenters out there. But the one thing that I'll say is we noticed this year in 2026, there were people that were looking for something a little bit different. That's kind of amazing because for a while, people were looking for the black 64s and 65s and 63s that were airbagged. This obviously is a later model, 66, 67. They changed the body style. It's got that custom billet grille. You see the bumper and you kind of go, it doesn't feel like it lines up all the way in the front. But no worries. The folks that brought their checkbooks or however they were looking to pay for these particular vehicles, they went all out. And $506,000 is a lot. Okay. That eclipsed a ton of previous held records just in itself. And when you look at the full custom interior, you look at the power plant, you look at the color, that's the thing about auctions. They are a gamble. In the next video that I do, I am going to talk a little bit about some of the why, maybe I think, on particular, some of the trends that we're seeing on some of these particular cars. But on this video, again, trying to keep it as high level as I can. Okay, this was the talk of the town, and it still is, and I'm recording this technically on Tuesday, January 27th. This 66 Lincoln Continental convertible, again, not going to go into a lot of detail on it. This sold for a staggering $1.1 million. Now, it did hammer in at $1 million. I shared that video. Thanks to my buddy Tom for sending that to me. And you look at this car and you go, what does it have going for it? It has custom wheels, air suspension, It has that seafoam-ish blue color, and it has a Coyote modern drivetrain, okay? There's a lot of people online talking about this car. A lot of people are upset that it's sold for so much. The thing I will tell people is, hey, it's not your money. And I know some people, some very big accounts that have been around custom vehicles a long time, they have also posted stuff and they said, I've seen the comments where, they're responding to people saying, this is not good for the industry when cars of this stature sell for this much. Look, at the end of the day, we could sit here and talk about this until the cows come home. It does not matter. Barrett-Jackson has been around a very, very long time, 50, 60 years. And people are going to continue to bring cars to auction. No similar than flipping houses. People are going to flip houses. Some of the work is going to be done to code, and it's not going to be very good looking. Okay, the work is going to be just not great craftsmanship, but the house is still going to sell. It's the same thing with cars. You can look at a car and say, hey, does it run and drive down the road? Is it technically safe if it had to have an inspection? Yeah, there's probably a lot of cars that can pass an inspection and look safe, or drive safe. But then you look at the cosmetics of it and you go, wow, is that what I would want to spend $1 million on? Certainly not. I don't think I'm going to sway anyone's opinion. There's going to be people that go, yo, Jay, you're crazy. This car should have never sold for $1 million. Again, it's not my money. And to me, it doesn't really matter if somebody has $1 million and they go, hey, I want this, or my wife wants this, I'm going to buy it. Sure, there's could be some buyer remorse out there, but in future videos, I'll talk a little bit more about it because there are other people in this Lincoln scene that are quote unquote builders. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff that they've done or tried to pull. So it's not new, folks. Custom cars, lipstick jobs, all of that stuff has been around a long time. The last point that I'll make on that is follow a YouTube channel, Uncle Tony's Garage. He goes over to his buddy Kiwi's shop, and if you saw the stuff that came out of auctions, not any particular one auction, that he has dealt with in the past, you would absolutely probably never buy it at an auction again. That's what I'm going to say. So I'm going to leave it at that. All right. This next 67 sold for $396,000. Again, congrats to all of these sellers and quote unquote builders. You can see here, very low stance, custom wheels. Many of these cars had these particular wheels on them. When we looked at the interior, this is a pedigree that many people love, right? If you made a pros and cons of these particular cars and you looked at the science behind what was kind of selling, you go, wow, black is the color so many people want. Red is just a great contrast on the color. There's a guy in the truck club that I've been in since 98. His name is Justin Carrillo. He has a Lincoln that sold at Barrett-Jackson. We'll get to it in a few minutes. He also almost every year builds black and red interior cars. Not this one, but that is a winning pedigree. And I would say, I believe Richard was behind this one in his company. Someone told me, I would say congrats, tip of the cap. I mean, who wouldn't want to take a 67 Lincoln that would never, ever, ever sell for this price? Or excuse me, this is a 66. Who would, it would never sell for this price, customize it and sell it for $396,000, right? Just insane. And I'm happy for the sellers. Now, again, we could compare apples to oranges and go, well, should this one have sold for more? Hey, it's just what people like. And, again, the only way you can change that is if you're there and you have the money and you have a bidder's pass and you're willing to outbid the next person. That's the only way that these prices are going to change, right? You can be mad, you can be upset, you could be like, hey, I think this should go for more. I do think there's a few factors in that. Sometimes how long the cars stay on the block. We've seen some weird things happen in the past. But what I could say here, congratulations to Richard and team. I mean, this is amazing. Again, we never see a car, a convertible sell for this much. And for someone to build a car that's really nice like that and sell for almost $400,000, there's big profit in that. Let's just say that. Okay. That's my opinion, of course. All right. 65 Lincoln Continental convertible, another 500,000 plus burger. Okay. $550,000. Do you see what we're continuing to see here? Black car, red interior, custom wheels. Again, that's a very, very high level. Now, if I remember correctly, again, I'm not name dropping everyone on these, but I think this was an Ali car because I can look at the interior. This car to me was very, very well done. Okay. And you could argue, and I kind of thought, and many of us probably did, like, wow, this is going to be potentially the high seller, right? This is going to set the mark. Ali has sold uh, Lincolns in the past, plenty of them, but he's also hit the 600,000 mark 2 years in a row. Oh, by the way, with the fee, $660,000. Not an anomaly the first year because boom, he comes back the second year, the totally different car, does it again. And I saw in one of the comments, Ali had said, I wonder if lightning will strike a third time, right? And certainly I would say at 550 grand, again, that's with the fee. I would say it definitely did. I mean, that is something to be proud of. I'm sure Ali goes back to the drawing board and says, hey, what can I do for next year? Do I change anything? But to have a car, it's got the center console shifter. You have this really cool custom interior, really high-end drivetrain, awesome stereo, just so much here. And, if you look at like some of the custom interior touches here, I mean, just doing a few things that were just over the top. I think this was, at least again, from not being boots on the ground, a very, very nice car. And I would be super happy at 500,000. It's my opinion. Okay, next we got a custom 65 Lincoln Continental convertible, 148,500. Years ago, this would have been the talk of the town, hitting six figures, 150K, if you will, ish. What appeared to be a fairly nice car. I mean, a real nice car. Black, custom wheels. This is one of the few that did not have the same style wheels that we continued to see. But, you look at the drivetrain, you look at the red interior, you had these speakers that were kind of under the seat. Some things that you may or may not like, but someone, whether they're an athlete or someone that's just got the wealth where they go, hey man, I love 65. I want a low stance. I want something that's bagged. I want something with custom interior that I can turn the key and go drive. 148,500, potentially with a little bit of changes or just bringing it back another year, the person's going to make money potentially. So we'll have to see. Okay, 61 Lincoln Continental convertible. Now, if I recall correctly, my friend Tony helped on this car not only pre Barrett-Jackson, he dialed in some of the timing and helped with the top, a couple little things because I think he's friends with this individual. So he gave me some insight into kind of how things went at the event. This car, if I remember correctly, sold in the past at Barrett-Jackson. So it was kind of an alumni, which I don't believe that they necessarily call out front and center at all. But when you look at some of the custom touches of it, very nice car. And I think the one thing that Tony talked about, it seemed like some of these cars hit the block and they're pushed off the block before you even know it. And it seems a little odd. I'm not a part of Barrett-Jackson. I'd imagine what their staff meetings are like, hey, folks, we've got this many cars, we've got to get this many through, and these are our goals, and so on and so forth. I'd be very curious to kind of understand the logic sometimes on some of the cars. I think even Ali in the past, it felt like, wow, the car was a little rushed, like people were still bidding. But regardless, I think someone got a good deal on this one. Now, listen, hey, can't slice and dice it any other way. It's a lot of money, right? 165,000, but it's nothing to be a downer about. What is a little surprising to me as an enthusiast, right, as someone that produces the Lincoln Addict podcast, is simply that it's a black Lincoln. It's a 61, which is very sought after. People love that front end, love the rear end as well. You have the MEL 430, right? So you've got that factory engine. Non-AC car that we can see. A lot of custom touches. You got the Dakota digital gauges in there. Gonna tickle the fancy of some, not all, but a really, really nice car that I thought easily could have went for more. I know Tony has ridden in this car, and I think they've driven it around here in Florida some, and I think someone got a good deal that had the money. But again, a few years ago, that would have been insane for one to even hit that. Now it's not even kind of the talk of the town, which is insane. Okay, 65 Lincoln Continental convertible. I really like this car as far as what I could see. This one sold for $330,000. 65, very sought after. Are you seeing the pedigree that we're continuing to see? Black, custom wheels lowered. Now, the Ali car, I think, had coilovers, right? A lot of these cars are airbagged. I've been around airbag systems a long time, just being from the truck scene. But what you will see here is a different wheel. This isn't the same wheel. You'll see a very kind of clean engine bay from what we can see here, kind of dialed in, painted, detailed, if you will. But it had a really stunning interior. I like this color interior. I know it's not going to tickle the fancy of everyone. A lot of people are going to go, hey, I'd rather have a red or I'd rather have black. Certainly this one stood out. And if you look at the differences between a car that sold for $330,000 and the 61 that I just showed you, that was a couple $100,000 less almost, you start to go, wow, what were some of the differences? And again, I think this year in 2026, people were going after something that looked a little bit different. Certainly, we saw great prices on the standard run-of-the-mill, I call it the RSTLNE from Wheel of Fortune, right? The black, the red interior, the custom wheels airbag, right? Those 4 boxes. But what buyers showed in 2026 so far is that they were willing to go and spend more money for a car that looked a little bit different than the run-of-the-mill, I guess is the best way that I could say it. If you feel differently about that, let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, next a 62 for $170,500. Just in territory that we would not have seen before. I mean, I've seen with my friend Larry Highbloom, right? Had just an amazing concourse car that had receipts arguably $170,000 to $200,000 sell for $150,000, right? And you go, well, why does a concourse original could take names at a car show nationwide? Why does that sell for less than a custom Lincoln? It's just where the market is at. This one sold for $170,500. What you have here is a black car. You have black Detroit steel, more than likely Detroit steel wheels, and you've got that 62 front end with those rectangles, airbagged, kind of that lower suspension. When we look here, you've got the black interior with the typical, the brown inserts, kind of the wood inserts. And when we look also, it has the stock drivetrain. It does have the air suspension in the trunk, but again, $170,000. If someone were to say, listen, I could sell my 62 black convertible for $75,000, someone's willing to pay me. What's the difference in this car? The paint's dialed in, air suspension, custom wheels. Who wouldn't want to make an extra $100,000 just doing those few things? That's what Barrett-Jackson brings. It brings all of these different buyers together. Okay, 61 Lincoln Continental. This one sold for $200,200. One of the unique numbers. This is the Justin Carrillo vehicle. And what we could see here, 61 distinctive front end, the custom wheels, black paint, airbagged, red interior. Okay. We can also see that it does have a modern drivetrain. You look at the interior, you've got, speakers kind of nicely done. You've got just a really dialed in custom car, and a sedan selling for this price is almost unheard of. Now, someone did chime in on one of my posts on social media and they said, yo, ODB, is that a record for a sedan? And I had to kind of go back. Sedans have sold for more than this. I've shared a couple, I'll share a couple more. But this territory for it to hammer just under 200 and then someone walk away at $200,000 is, I'm sure Justin was very happy with that. Congratulations. Okay, 64 Lincoln Continental, and this convertible sold for $236,500. Black, 64, custom wheels, a little bit wider. I would say definitely this is considered a wide white, more so than the little typical stripe that you're accustomed to seeing. We can see the trim here. One thing that you typically do not see is the trim on the front in 64, as well as the trim that runs down the unibody of the car in the back. That was blacked out. You typically never see that, but certainly $236,000. We can see kind of that stock looking interior, very, very nice. We can scroll down a little bit more, look at some of the other photos. We can see some of the literature that comes with it. I love that. We got John Cashman's name, so tip of the cap to John Cashman. If you don't know, John's been working on these cars 40 years. He's also, forget if it was this car that he was representing, and it may have been, he was representing one of the cars. And like you look at the engine and you go, hey, it's an MEL 430. Okay, cool. I'm happy that we've gotten to the point that you don't have to have a modern drivetrain just a little bit of custom things done to a car, and these prices are just extraordinary. Just a few months ago, people were saying the market's dying out. We're never going to see it again. We kind of hear that every single year, and it seemingly continues to go up. Okay, 67 Lincoln Continental convertible, $176,000. Custom wheels, not a black car. We can see here it does have the individually adjustable contour seats, also known as bucket seats. It's going to have the MEL 462. Okay. It's a convertible, custom interior, very nice car. And you got the nice door panels, you got nice stereo. To me, this is a cool cruiser. Something that looks mostly stock, other than the wheels, but the wheels still pay homage to that amazing era of the wheel cover. But someone walks up to it and goes, wow, mind blown. Look at the interior. Look at how nice this car looks. Wow, look at the stereo. I think someone got a really good buy. And when I say that, again, $176,000 is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But when I say that, comparatively to some of these other cars, they got a nice car. 55 Lincoln Continental sedan. This one sold for $110,000. So if those scoring at home, you're like, wow, this is a deal of a deal. Well, yeah, I would say probably considering everything that we've seen. 65, very sought after. We can see it does have an upgraded drivetrain. You've got that stock looking interior, black with black interior and the custom wheels. Nothing crazy. We just would have never saw a sedan selling for 110 grand in the past. It just wasn't really a thing. A couple did, but something that has an engine swap and wheels and stereo with a nice interior, they might have had. I mean, the profit on this one maybe wasn't as much as some of the ones we've seen, but nothing to cry home about. Definitely looks nice. Okay, and then two more. We got the 63 sedan. This one was the steal, if you will, I guess, in terms of a price. It sold for $44,000. We can see those wheels on there, custom wheels. You've got the look and feel of a regular car. What's the big difference in this one? If you look at the interior, you've got that cloth interior, and there were a bunch of interior options in the 60s. You rarely see cloth. Off the top of my head, I'd have to look back to see if that was even an option, but more than likely at some point, these seats have maybe been redone. You can see a bluish color. I love blue. You can see the stock drivetrain. I mean, just not an over-the-top vehicle. An investor or a builder is going to be able to scoop this thing up at $44K, which is a strong price for a mild custom sedan. And then what are they going to potentially do with it? Well, if you're a business person, they're going to do a little bit more and they're going to bring it back next year and sell it for $150K, right? You see how the game works. Fortunately, that's just the way it is, folks. Okay, and then lastly, a 65 Lincoln Continental sedan, another low seller in terms of the overall amount, but again, you could potentially see this car coming back custom. This was the most stock car sold, although it wasn't 100% stock. We can see the air cleaner. I do believe it had EFI, which is primarily why they ended up with that air cleaner, which looks very odd in those engine bays to me, but to each their own. But you look at this car, for the most part, it does appear to be totally stock. It's an AC car, and that's what it sold for, $55K. Okay, so I can't believe it. It took me that long. Some of you probably jumped ahead to this point where I'm going to recap it. This is really kind of the drum roll where we have to kind of do the recap. But again, I want to thank everybody that watched through this. I know I ramble on a little bit. Some of the other videos, I'll try to keep them a little shorter, but because this is a podcast episode, I wanted to kind of go and make sure I hit upon some of the key things. I also want to give a huge shout out to Griot's Garage, the best, in my opinion, detailing products in the market. GRIOTS, Griots. Google them. Pull them up on social media. They do free videos on how to do the proper detailing with their products. I had Nick on in the past. Your local retailers will carry Griots more than likely, but when you go to wash your car, whether it's a daily driver or a show car, choose Griots. Lastly, I want to give a huge shout out to Steel Rubber, STEELE rubber.com. You can go to their website. They have the best weather stripping for these vehicles, hands down. With that being said, let's jump in and do the recap. Okay, and here's the drum roll. So basically, 26 versus the 3 previous years, okay? No one else out in the social media world that I know of is doing anything comparing to this or comparable. And this is why I like doing the podcast. Yeah, I've got the social media. Yeah, I've got the podcast, but I like to I'm a numbers type person. So I like to give this to you and give you something that other folks aren't doing. What we could see here is there were 16 cars from 1961 to 1969. The total sales, 4.73 million. Okay. Here's the key thing. What's the average price? Well, those cars, the car that went for $1 million, and again, this is the total with the buyer fee. Okay. I did not subtract that out. Each year it's the same, right? So we're comparing apples to apples. That's the main thing. But if you see the average sale price, $295, $625, right? It's the average for those 16 cars. So you take the total divided by 16, easy stuff. In 2025, there were 13 cars, but the average price was $215,000. Okay. You could see in 2024, it was $138,000 average at 1.4 million, we'll call it. Okay. And then the year prior, 2023, was 11 cars, 1.7 million. Oh, by the way, average price, $158,000. So from 2023, you fast forward a few years and they've doubled the average sale price of a 1960s Lincoln. And what we saw was custom. As much as I love stock Lincolns, and I'm always going to be proud of like what Meekum did in my recap video there, I said, wow, a 200,000 plus stock, restoration is the word I'm looking for. That's amazing. I love seeing it. I love seeing Larry Heibloom's car go for 150,000. I love seeing some of these go for 200. I love it. I do believe that the stock Lincolns will continue to be more of unicorns in the future because what we're seeing here is similar to what we see in DeLoreans, okay? Really quick, there's not a lot of DeLoreans made. Look up the production numbers, very low. A lot of Back to the Future fans like me, we want to acquire a DeLorean, but oh, by the way, we want to make it like a Back to the Future car, right? Some of us do. That costs a lot of money, but oh, by the way, every one that's customized, there's a less of a DeLorean, right? So people don't like DeLoreans, whatever. But the point is low production numbers here as well for the most part, especially convertibles, okay? So with that being said, as time goes on, the stock cars and the people that want a stock car, it's going to be harder and harder to find something. That 66, 67 that we saw, the off-white oatmeal color with the mild custom, that I think it's a huge win, right? Because you got this cool cruiser that you could take the fam out and you can cruise with. It wasn't so over the top, but it brought in, almost 200 grand, which is fantastic. So a lot of people, in closing, a lot of people are building these cars. They have a side business or their primary income is to build a car and bring it to auction. And they need to make money, right? They've got employees, they've got vendors that they're subbing this stuff out to, and they have to bring in the income. It's a business, right? It blows my mind when people go crazy over a car selling. And I go, well, do you own a business? Well, yeah, I got an AC business. Okay, do you want to make money every year with your AC business, or do you want to just totally lose money and not have enough to pay your employees? Well, natural answer, yeah, I want to make money. Well, that's what these people are doing. In future videos, I'll also break down that you got to keep in mind some of these cars start as nice cars. The thing that none of us know is which ones start as like carcasses, okay? There's some people doing them right, and they're building them from the ground up, and they're putting the money in. The thing that I think that frustrates people is that if you do it right and you spend all the money and you go to the right vendors and you get the right parts and you build a car that you're thinking, hey, is going to be a $700,000-$800,000 car, and it doesn't get there. And then, oh, by the way, you got someone that floats in that just bought a car and it's half put together and it sells for, I'll just say $1 million. I think that's what infuriates people because they're like, wow, like why would someone spend $1 million on something that we all know what our feeling is on it? But at the end of the day, I always tell people, it's not your money. It's not my money. Unless you're there bidding, you're not going to be able to, sway the price one way or another. I am ODB, the Lincoln Addict. Thank you. I know this was a little bit longer of an episode. I hope that you appreciated. We'll get back to more episodes in 2026. Stay on the rise, everyone. Take care. Lincoln's on the rise. Peace.